Hey guys, hope you all are having a good day. It's me, Chris. It's time for another car tour. That's all I'm saying. But the main reason I'm doing this car tour today is because the car I have is actually kind of surprising me more and more, and I'm about to explain it to you. So yes, sadly the Dodge Ram Cummins is gone, and what I have here is a 2012 Nissan Leaf. I'm not sure. I mean, if you guys have been following me long enough, you may remember when I did have that Prius for a little while. That Prius, I mean, Toyota's usually, in my opinion, a pretty good car brand, but the Prius just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, honestly, to the point where I wasn't sure if I wanted to mess with hybrids or even all electric cars anymore. The Leaf here is actually my first electric car, like completely all electric. And this car surprises me just in a lot of reasons. I mean, one, in my opinion, especially like the early Leafs, like the Leafs came out in 2011, these early Leafs, I mean, there's some cons to them for sure, but these early Leafs, I think they make really great entry-level cars. They're not nearly as expensive as the Teslas or even the Chevy Bolts. A couple of people have asked me, well, would you compare this to the Chevy Volt? And I'm like, you really can't compare it to the Chevy Volt. Noisy Ford Ranger going by. You really can't compare it to the Chevy Volt because the Volt itself is actually a hybrid. But yeah, I'm gonna give you guys a tour, and a quick tour anyway, of what I think about the Leaf, its pros and cons, and go from there. So we'll go ahead and kind of look, since we walked around the exterior a few times, go ahead and show you guys the interior. The seat covers kind of came with the car. Obviously I bought it used, but I've got no real desire to replace them. I kind of like them, so I figure I'm going to roll with them for a little while. Here's the back seat. My son's car seat just kind of chilling out over there. And the back hatch. For those of you that are curious, this is a solar panel up here. Its function is basically, my understanding, is to recharge the auxiliary 12-volt battery up underneath the hood. Of course, here's the hatch. My trunk's a little messy, but so this is the carrying case that the home charger comes in. It's basically like a long extension cord. As a matter of fact, I'll go show you guys what the extension cord looks like. And this is the extension cord. I had it plugged in overnight. But it plugs into your typical 110, 115, 120 outlet. And it comes out to like this nice little charger. And I'll show you guys where it plugs in. But yeah, it's kind of nice. Now, for these early Leafs, if your battery's like fully healthy at like full capacity, if you use this charger, I believe it takes like 21 hours to recharge your battery, but it does still have the quick charge ability as well. Go ahead and pop the trunk and the charger door. My charger release handle is a little bit broken, but you still get the idea. Just in case you're curious where those switches are at. And the charger door is up here underneath the Nissan logo. After you pop it, it just pops open. I forgot to close my smaller charge outlet, but this is the smaller one meant for the J1772 hookup or your home charger hookup. And this is the quick charge hookup, or if you want to hook into like a quick charge power station, that kind of deal. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. Show you guys underneath the engine. Black car in summertime sun, it's not fun. But this is the electric engine basically. There's really, I mean, the one huge benefit to these electric cars is there's so little maintenance to worry about. I mean, the only fluid you really need to worry about is obviously the washer fluid. There is I guess a coolant pump to, I believe it keeps the battery cool, like your main traction battery. I don't know if it heats it up in the wintertime, but I believe it's just mostly designed to keep it cool. I believe that is your brake fluid up there. And I think that's overflow pressure for the coolant. And then, of course, the 12-volt battery. I'm not a fan of these Walmart Never Starts, but the battery's only, maybe 2 years old, so it should still have a little bit of life left in it. The 12-volt battery, my understanding is it powers basically all the auxiliary things, lights, interior electronics, a few other things that the traction battery does not cover. It does not power the heating or air conditioning, though. The heating or air conditioning comes off of the main traction battery. So if you run it, it will affect your range. But anyway, on to the rest of the car. Coming into the driver's side, these are the window switches, obviously. And then you got the window lockout, door lock and unlock. And then side mirror controls. Hopping into the cab. Little transit bus going by. Hopping into the cabin. These buttons over here control like your on-screen menu on the driver's information. So like you hit these buttons, it'll help cycle you through your menu. Turn that off so I don't get in the fraction. So that does that. It's just kind of like a enter and skip button, I believe. And then down here, you got your trip meter reset, and the button over there is, I think, a headlight delay. Oh no, it's your brightness for your, yeah, sorry about that. It's your brightness for your display panel. Down here, you have traction control off. This is, if you put your, if you enable a charge timer, you can, for your charging, like, say like you plug your car in for most of the day, but you only want it to charge at certain times of the day, you can set that up over there on the main radio display. But if you're plugging in and you just want to charge immediately, you just hit this to turn off any timers and it will start timing. This is your heated steering wheel. And this is, I believe, just another dimmer switch for like interior and radial, that kind of thing. Of course, up here is your headlight stalk. You do have automatic headlights. These control your fog lights if you want them on or off, and of course your turn signals. And then over here on the radio display, you got your four ways. These are your basically your radio buttons, mode selections, FM, AM, XM radio. It does come with that. CD auxiliary, volume control. This is basically just like a master mute button. So turn the audio on and off for the most part. It does come with navigation. This is basically your map call up. This is your radio main menu. And your status. You just use it to cycle through. It'll give you different vehicle statuses, that kind of thing. This is your basically tune seek for the radio tuner. That zero emissions E button just kind of brings you up another menu for mostly like controlling your battery, that type of thing. Down here is your HVAC control. Selections. Most of it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm just still figuring out what this light up here means. But for the most part, I cruise with it off just to help save battery power. I mean, once in a while I'll turn it on, but it's not too often. Of course, down here is your passenger airbag on off. Your heated seats are down here. The heated seats do run off with a smaller 12-volt battery, so you don't need to worry about your range. Of course, the 12-volt charger. And down here is just different hookups, like your auxiliary for your radio. And over here under this cover is a USB hookup for the radio. Down here, your electronic parking brake and your gear shift. Basically, it's of course a single speed. It's electronic, but To park it, you hit park. If you want to put it in reverse, you just go left and then up. And then you may or may not hear the reverse chime. Watch out. I'm going to close the door and roll down the window. That's about as much noise as this car actually makes, and of course you have the rear view camera. So you hit park again, and if you want to drive, there's 2 drive modes on these early Nissan Leafs. So you bring your controller left and down once, and it'll give you regular drive, and then left and down again, it'll put you in eco mode, which gives you slightly more range and stuff like that. Excuse me. So coming back over to the steering wheel, this button is kind of like a quick show me what my range is kind of thing on your map. So if you press it, it'll pop up and it tries to give you like charging stations or how fast the computer thinks you can go on your current battery charge. This is like your source, and you're seeking like to change like either your presets or go back and forth if you're listening to something on your Bluetooth. Phone button, volume control, text to speech and cancel. Over here is basically your cruise control. You got your cancel, accelerate, resume, versus your coast and reset, and then of course cruise control on and off. This other turn signal stock is basically just your wipers front and rear. And I believe that pretty much rounds out the interior. Up here in the display console, you have basically your battery temperature is what this gauge over here is for. Up here is kind of like a tachometer. It basically tells you how much power you're commanding from the battery. Obviously, the more bars, the more power you're commanding. When you go into your regenerative braking, you'll see these circles get white dots going this way to kind of indicate how your regenerative braking's going. Of course, all your various associated warning lights. If you have a green car with the back and forth arrow, it just means the car is ready to drive. Down here is what a lot of Nissan Leaf owners will call the LIO meter. It's how far the computer thinks you can go on your current charge. This is your current battery charge. And over here is your overall battery capacity. It basically tells you like how your battery's doing as far as its life is concerned. There's about 12 bars altogether. I'm showing about 6. So my battery's at about half of its useful life. Up here's the speedometer. If you can see it, it's really bright out today. I'm going to try and get in a little closer. A couple of warning lights just because my seatbelt's off and parking brake's off, that kind of thing. Getting in here tight, that little gauge is supposed to be like an economy meter, and the longer you cruise like under really good economy, it'll help like fill in like a little tree. Just kind of a weird gimmicky thing in my opinion, but yeah. And my son's goofing around with car doors, that's why you hear something slamming in the background. There's the speed, your time, and your temperature. So there is all that. Your rear view mirror, I believe it's auto dimming, and you also have, I call it the home link system, to where you can link up about 3 different garage door openers, so you can open up like a garage door or something similar to that with these buttons up here. And of course your various lights, things like that, on, off. I believe these are your microphones for when you're using your hands-free off the radio. This little orange light over, this thing lights up orange when you're running and you have the headlights on auto. I believe this comes on and tells you, I'm not sure if that's always on with the lights in auto, or if it's just on if the lights are on auto and the lights are on. Yeah, it's just because I just flipped it to auto, so that's just on when the lights are on auto and the lights are on. Sunglasses holder, nothing too fancy there. And it's just your standard fare beyond that on the headliner. So you guys are probably wondering why I say this car surprises me, and it's because the price level of these cars and what I paid for these cars, I feel like what I paid for this car, I feel like you actually get a lot of bang for your buck out of the Nissan Leaf. My opinion, it's a good looking car. You know, it looks stylish, it looks sporty. If you weren't paying attention, it would almost look like a normal gas-powered car until you really started getting close to it and poking around. But I mean, it looks good, it handles good, and it's a comfortable car. I mean, it's probably one of the more comfortable cars that I've driven. So, I mean, there's that, and you know, to me it just feels like it's got a good build quality to it. It's not cheap or tinny or anything like that. Another thing that impresses me about this car is just how quiet this is. I thought my Prius, when it was running on just battery, was pretty quiet, but you just don't really hear anything like any car noise with this car when you're running. I think the loudest part about this car is the little pedestrian reverse alarm, which thank you, Nissan, for getting the reverse alarm right, because that was one of my gripes with the Prius. When you put the Prius in reverse, it beeps on the inside, but it doesn't beep on the outside. And I've always thought that was weird. I'm like, if I'm putting the Prius in reverse, why does it need to beep at me to tell me when I'm in reverse? Now, the Prius's alarm, it's there. If you guys heard it earlier, it's there, so it's not like obnoxiously loud, but sometimes I think it's a little quiet if you're kind of in a noisier environment. But I digress, you know, I'm kind of nitpicking at this point. Now, the one thing I can tell you, folks, and I'm pretty sure those that have researched Leafs already know this, the biggest drawback to these vehicles is just the range, especially the early Leafs, which is mine's an early one. The early Leafs, at best, when they were new, you could maybe get 100 miles to the battery charge, but realistically, you're probably 80 miles new. Mine, at least according to the Liometer, with my battery and its health, I'm probably 40-45 miles if I'm lucky. So this car is definitely an in-town only car. I would not recommend it to somebody that has like a longer commute, or if they're just one of these people that might forget to plug in their car, or if you just don't really have access to, say, like, you know, outdoor plugs to where you can plug in your car, or if you don't really have a lot of quick charging stations near you. The range anxiety with these cars is strong on these things. But to me, that's about the only drawback. It's just the range. You know, my opinion, especially with gas prices, it's way cheaper to recharge one of these versus fill up a tank full of gas. And like I said, they're quiet, they ride great, good build quality, they handle well. There's definitely a lot of pros to these cars, especially for what you pay for them. But that's why this car surprises me so much, is even despite the limited range, it's still it's a great car. Like, if you live in town and you got like a short commute kind of thing, or if you just have access to like a lot of rapid charge stations, yeah, you can make this car work. So that's what surprises me about it. Like I said, the range anxiety does kind of get to me. The range is actually less than what I was expecting this car to be. So we'll see. But I mean, for the time being, it's a great car. It's keeping me from having to pay out the butt in gas. It's definitely fulfilling what I need it to do, for sure. I can't do a 0 to 60 run because the speed limit up here ain't that high. But I'm going to try and do a 0 to 30 and catch it on camera. Make sure I'm actually D. Wait for this keep to pass. Ooh. Shit, that was quick! Yeah. It's not the flattest ground, but it's close to flat. Let's see if I can try and do a 0 to 60. Figure out what this thing's capable of. Got it in drive. Alright.
I don't think you got anybody coming.
There's 60.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to end the video out here with you guys, but yeah, I figured I'd give you a tour of the Leaf. Mostly because for this being an electric vehicle, it honestly surprises me. It's got quite a few pros to it if you don't mind the limited range. But yep, that's it. I hope you guys are having a great day, night, week, weekend, whatever time it is, wherever you may be. We'll see you in the next one.